Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 8th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see the Gulf of Alaska, this cooler air here on the air mass characteristics showing up. You can see in the greens and the yellows, that is the warmer air down towards the equatorial regions. And the clash of where that polar air meets the warm equatorial air down to the south is where we get these mid-latitude cyclones that develop. This one right here, its bark is a little worse than its bite. It is bringing some precipitation, and this will sag down across some of Washington, Oregon over the next couple of days, but this system is on the wane. It is weakening as it approaches. However, we have some stronger systems out here across the Aleutian Islands. They're going to be racing across, and these are going to slam into the Pacific Northwest. We got a nice 1-2 punch coming up, and we've got some flooding potential even with some of that, and some mountain snows and some wave action as well. We'll take a look at the king tides also and see if those line up with any storm systems as we go through the extended forecast, so stay tuned for that. Looking at the visible satellite, nice lenticular show across some of the Pacific Northwest this morning, Mount Rainier especially. I had to get some sleep last night, so I couldn't go out there and get that one, but I'll be looking for sunset tonight. But again, this frontal system is declining, but it is bringing precipitation, some pretty persistent amounts into western BC. I'll take a look at that here in the weather models in a moment. And just a reminder, if you guys want a nice affordable home weather station, solar powered, lightning detection, very good, especially for the price. You really can't beat it. I highly recommend this one. Click on that link down below to save 10% off if you want one. It's great. It stores all the data for you in the cloud. The smartphone app is really nice. And again, did I mention it's got a lightning detection system? It's very fun to watch. It tells you how hard it's raining even at your house. Very good stuff. Now looking at Seattle yesterday, 59 degrees, 54 was the average high. I mean, it was just a glorious day out there. Nice and warm feeling, relatively speaking anyway. A lot of sunshine, no precipitation, but that is going to be changing here over the next few days as well. This is our rainy month, November. We have averaged just for SeaTac up over 6 inches, and many areas across the Pacific Northwest average much more during this month. Now, I'm going to back this up here. We're looking at the North American view. There's Alaska, Washington, Oregon. There's the Pacific Ocean. This is the initial system that is weakening. You can clearly see it weakening as it approaches the Pacific Northwest, but this next one is fairly robust. This is a strong frontal system. It'll be rolling in here as we go through the day Sunday and on into Sunday night into Monday. Some very cold air aloft behind that system. It's going to help build some mountain snows, and then we don't get much of a break before another fairly robust system will be slamming into the Pacific Northwest as we go through the early portion of next week also. So I'll continue a little bit further out here. We'll look at Fantasyland as another cold shot approaches from the northwest. That would be very nice for some mountain snows also. We'll see how that trends here in future runs. That's a bit of a fantasy forecast, but things look to remain quite active once we start to get going as we go through the weekend coming up. And this is the Pacific Ocean. You can see if you look closely, the Hawaiian Islands are right here. There's Alaska to the top. There's Washington State and Japan all the way to the left. So we're at about 39,000 feet here, and you can see the jet stream just roaring across the Pacific Ocean. If I put this into motion, you can see our next strong system right there. That kink in the jet stream at 39,000 feet, that will be ushering in that powerful frontal system there. We push on in towards the early portion of next week, and another strong frontal system is shown right there in that kink in the jet stream. So just thought you guys would like to see that. You can imagine if you're a flight dispatcher and you're trying to plan these flights from, for example, to Seattle to Japan, on the way over, you're trying to avoid this jet stream and go north of it here and whatnot. And on the way back, it's a bit easier. You just kind of aim for the core and you try not to get in too much turbulence here, but that's why the flights when you go from Japan to Seattle are much shorter versus the opposite. You're fighting that headwind and you're having to go out of your way to get away from that jet stream. Little dispatch 101 there. Now taking a look at day 3, excessive rainfall outlook. This is the Pacific Northwest. This would include western BC as well. It goes down into northwest Oregon. Look at this, day 4 and day 5. So we'll check this out again in detail tomorrow to see how much we have to worry about as far as flooding concerns with these upcoming systems. Now, this is what's going on right now. This is the artificial intelligence. You can see this precipitation, moderate at times for western BC, taking its sweet time to sag south across Washington, but it finally does so as we go through the day Saturday. But it's losing a lot of its punch as it does so, and it kind of moves down across Oregon. And then the next frontal system is quickly racing in as we go through. About 10 a.m. Sunday is shown here. You can see the frontal system off the coast starting to impact western BC, and this one's going to race into western Washington, western Oregon. Look at that that deep low out over the Pacific Ocean, the Gulf of Alaska. There's Haida Gwaii, Vancouver Island right here. And then we're going to get that cold air aloft just slamming into our terrain, dumping some heavy snow across the mountains, some wave action. And then look at this next one. No rest for the weary as this powerful storm just rushes in here. And this one has an atmospheric river look to it as well as we go on in through the early portion of next week. Look at that wicked frontal system here with the deep low right off the coastline. So that is going to be fun stuff if you like watching storms along some of the coastal regions coming up here. And then you can see additional storm systems continue to plow into the Pacific Northwest. If we take a look at the 5-day precipitation anomaly, look at this here for Washington, Oregon, Western BC. And this is just 144 hours, but you're seeing a pretty good above average signal showing up. Should be no surprise with what I just showed you. GFS showing something similar there as well. This is a 10-day precipitation anomaly. So I do want to show you the total snow coming up here. So let's scroll through this, and we're going to head off in towards Sunday, and you can see a little bit of snow for the very highest peaks here. Not much to worry about there. But as we go through the day Monday, as this frontal system swings through, even Snoqualmie shows up a little bit here. Of course, there's going to be much more at Stevens Pass. Looks like the snow level will probably be right around 3,000, 3,500 feet. So that means some fairly decent totals for Stevens Pass versus Snoqualmie, White Pass as well. And as we scroll through here, you'll notice we're not getting lower elevation snowfall, but the mountains are getting a nice shot of snowfall here over the next 10 days or so. I mean, look at some of these amounts. Oregon Cascades, Washington, a nice covering here for the Olympics, and maybe even some snow for the coastal range of Oregon at times. Now, if we take a look at winds, so I just brought up Bellingham here because we're going to check this out in a little bit more detail coming up. We're not looking at any region-wide windstorm right now, but there could be some windy periods. Bellingham, for example, you can see the winds gusting up into the 40-mile-per-hour range and maybe even stronger with that next frontal system. Again, we'll break those down as we get a little bit closer. And I do want to show you these low-pressure systems on last night's European ensemble members. So you can see, there's that strong frontal system, and the deep low stays far enough away. We're not going to get damaging winds or anything, but things could get breezy for some areas. And again, we'll break that down as we get closer. And then there's that secondary system quickly on the heels of that first one. So we are going to be very stormy once we start things off as we go through the day Sunday on in through the mid portion of next week. So we got king tides coming up here, and you might wonder what a king tide is. Well, here's Earth, and you can see the tides bulging. It's pulled on by the gravity of the moon and the sun, and when these line up, you really get that enhanced tide there. So that is what's going on with the king tides. And if you take a close look here, this is for example, today, Friday the 8th. Let's look at that. And you can see the high tide just under 8 feet, 7.93 feet. And if you go towards the 14th, look at the difference there, 10.57 feet. So you're starting to really bring those tides up. I mean, that's a 2.5 foot difference. That's a huge difference. And look, by the time you get to the 15th and the 16th, look at these huge tides. Those are the king tides, 15, 16, 17 especially. But really on the 18th and the 14th, they're going to be quite high as well. So you can imagine what would happen if you lined up one of our, pretty standard Pacific Northwest big wave action storms with these high tides, where the sea level is 3 feet higher to start when you got these big waves rolling in, and then you get a low pressure system that will increase the sea level basically at the coastal areas here because the pressure is lower and the water will be higher at the coastal region. So yeah, if you bring a big storm in during this time, 15, 16, 17, really 14th and 18th too, you could be looking at, some beach erosion, some huge waves washing over jetties and into parking lots and stuff like that. So I brought up the wave map here. This is the one hot off the presses here this morning, the 12Z European model. So let's run through this. And you'll see our stronger system as we go through the day Sunday. It's going to bring some waves behind it. And this is about November 12th. You can see a pretty good bump there, but the tides really haven't increased too much there. Again, once we get to the 14th, we're going to start to be watching that. And then you start to look here, and that's the 14th. That's a pretty good wave bump as you start to move in towards November 14th and 15th. It's not giant, but that could definitely do the trick. And of course, you know how this goes. The weather models might back off with some of those systems, or they come in a day or two later, or additional storm development takes place, and we could be looking at some pretty interesting stuff here for some of the coastal areas as we go out towards the 18th there. But we'll be watching that, breaking it down. And we'll just have to see if that lines up. So 6 to 10 day temperature outlook through November 17th, below normal here for some of the southwest. Tries to creep up into the Pacific Northwest. Above average signal here shouldn't be a surprise. There's 8 to 14 day, much of the west coast below. And check it out here. So we are up over 74,000 subscribers. And if we go back, let's see. So we need about another 26,000. So let's go back about 26,000 to 48. Right there, September 26th. So that wasn't that long ago, really. You know, maybe another year we could probably be up towards 100,000 here. So very excited to hit that milestone. Of course, this is all due to everybody who subscribes to this page. It's been very organic growth. I know a lot of it's been via word of mouth. So again, this is your guys is just as much as mine, and you guys make this channel possible. If you want to help support the page, click on that join button down below. You should see it on your desktop. It's kind of a small little button there, but you can help support me there. But anyway, yeah, much thanks to everybody out there who's been, loving the channel here, and leave some comments below. We'll do this all again tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good day, and I will talk to you guys then.